Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 5 minutes to the sponsor of the bill, the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Higgins.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Louisiana is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the chairman of the Oversight Committee for recognizing me, allowing me to speak in support of H.R. 5143, the District of Columbia Policing Protection Act. As a matter of background, Mr. Speaker, in January of 2023, the D.C. Council enacted the Comprehensive Policing and Justice Reform Amendment, the CPJRA Act of 2022. That was D.C. Law 24-345. And amongst numerous other police-related policy matters, most of which we advised against in the Oversight Committee. We met with D.C. officials, including hearings, and we advised against what they intended to do. Included in those police-related policy matters in the act that they indeed passed in 2022 is Subtitle S of the CPJRA, which imposed a host of restrictions on police pursuit of criminal suspects. In doing so, the D.C. Council essentially made it illegal for police to pursue and apprehend criminals if they were fleeing in a vehicle by imposing a complex matrix of 14 factors that police officers have to consider before whether or not they would pursue a fleeing vehicle. The police officers, I speak from my own experience. I mean, very likely the only one involved in this debate for several years that has actually engaged in, I tried to add it up the other day, but probably a couple of hundred serious high-speed pursuits in the course of my career. I worked night shift for a long time, 9 years straight, 12-hour shifts. Night shift is when this stuff usually happens. And I'm not talking about when someone doesn't stop right away. That's not a high-speed pursuit. Having to drive 100 miles an hour to catch up with somebody that you're pulling over is not a high-speed pursuit. A high-speed pursuit is when they're running. And this is something that the officer has to make very fast decisions, Mr. Speaker. And yes, we consider the totality of circumstance of where we are. Is that a suspect vehicle? Does it match a definition of something that's been put out through dispatch, a vehicle that we're looking for? Has it potentially been involved in a crime that requires police interaction in the effort to enforce and to address that crime that took place? There's a number of factors that a police officer has to figure. But it's got to be an option that you're going to pursue that car. And what D.C. has done, one of the factors, Mr. Speaker, is if anyone in the suspect motor vehicle was afforded an opportunity to comply with an order to surrender any suspected dangerous weapons. What the hell? There's no way a police officer can know that. There's too many factors, which basically means D.C. has made it illegal for police to pursue a vehicle. And that's what we're correcting here. We're restoring the discretion of the professional law enforcement officer to make a decision in a fraction of a second or two based upon his policies and his training and the totality of circumstance or whether or not he needs to pursue that vehicle. And this is what my bill restores. The legislation repeals Subtitle S of the Comprehensive Policing and Justice Reform Amendment Act of 2022 and replaces it with policies empowering police to vehicular pursuit of a suspect fleeing in a motor vehicle if the officer or supervisor deems it necessary, that it's the most effective means of apprehension, and if it is without unreasonable risk to bystanders. Let me say, in all my vehicle pursuits, there's been a few crashes. but nobody has died. And the only crash that I've ever been involved in those pursuits was when I purposefully crashed the fleeing vehicle, which was the guy who had committed an armed robbery at a local hardware store, had pistol whipped the manager of that store, made it to his car, fired at officers, and began. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the time and the indulgence to the chairman and the speaker. I just urge strong support of H.R. 5143. It restores legitimate discretion to the police officers that actually work the streets of D.C. I yield the balance of my time. I thank you all.